It's Friday, it's June 30th, it's 2023. I'm sitting here. Now, the Supreme Court came out with a ruling yesterday, and then another one today. Again, like, just as like feedback into the system. I'm sitting in a room in New York. The weather outside, I can't go out and walk outside because the air quality is so poor. Um, it's very hazy here. The air is thick. My legs, having trouble, um, just muscular anatomy is not physiologically working the way that it normally does. It's a tough physiological day in this chemistry of whatever is going on in the air. Um, so I'm watching the Supreme Court decisions to try to see what's going on. Like, I'm in what I call the Bayside Station, but what's going on in rooms elsewhere that might be affecting here, since there's no real, I mean, other than this one like small window or like porthole to what are the words, like what are the humans speaking of. um so I referenced the newspaper this morning, which it says the justice is blind, which I believe it's I think Minerva, maybe Hester, I don't know. I mean, I between the two, I know which one was whatever and whatever. Um, but I'm looking at Cuomo almost as like that big brother coach, since he's closer to like levels of names that are recognized. I went today to pick Lewis up from JFK. Um, he flew on a Condor from Europe back to America. Um, so as a family, we went to go to the airport and we sat there um, at the arrival gate and we waited for quite some time. I happen to use the time just in observance of what's going on around the arrival gate, and it was eye opening to say the least. And then coming home in the haze with all of the motor vehicles that were on the highway. And while I was there, I did see quite a few people getting off of the planes in blazers with on their pockets and embroidery. I caught some of the symbols of where they were from. Um, Not sure what or where that kind of information is used or important, but again, I just put it in like the mental note, I suppose. Um, so I'm coming back and I'm watching what Cuomo's message was from last Friday and thinking of how much from last Friday to this Friday, um, too big, big enough that they made TV headlines on the evening news here in New York, because normally they don't speak about the Supreme Court. Um, so this is what it sounds like.
Nope, it's not how the game works. It's not how it works. Here's how it works. What is your position on these text messages? Was the president sitting next to his son at this time? Okay? Now, the answer is going to be no. The president has no recollection. I know that word. Hold the prompt. That the recollection word gets you in trouble. I know. I have a tendency to ad lib things that I'm saying. When I say hold the prompter, I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to the prompter operator. Remember, this is a startup. We're still all getting our footing here underneath us. So I just believe in transparency. You want to know what TV is about? I'll tell you. So, what's your answer? Counsel's answer is Biden says no. The president says no. I don't know what you're talking about. I was never there. I was never involved in his business. That's your answer. Because when you give this answer that you won't answer, it is blood in the water, and it should be. Shame on you for not having an I direct you to counsel. What are you talking about? You're the White House press secretary. You're here to talk to us. You're here to spin. And the one thing that will always kill you with the media is being in a situation that's supposed to be about exchange and going quiet. Now, conversely, I do believe the best way to deal with crisis is to shut up. We'll move on. We're like goldfish. We forget things. What's the new shiny thing? What's the new submarine? What's the new? We're going to move on. Shut up. Unless there's a process involved, and then you got a problem because we keep coming back because the process is what's shiny. So, the White House press secretary can say, oh, I did answer your question by saying I'm not answering your question. I'm directing you to the White House counsel. It is inept, and it is ineffective, and it makes it look like you got something to hide. So now you do. And the idea that this is his son, he's a family member. It's not uncommon for family members. Yeah. You know when my family doesn't want me around? You know when I wasn't showing up? When I had a team of paparazzi chasing me for bad reason, trying to embarrass me and destroy me if they could. I didn't show up places. You know why? I didn't want to put that on my family. Now you could say, well, Hunter should have made that decision. Well, maybe he is incapable of making that decision, or he just has bad judgment. But
Or in my case, maybe you're just a woman and I am going to play that woman card of I've reported it to whatever shows up in like the mojito kind of a way. Um, I've reported it to others privately, like quietly. But then what do they do with that information unless they were sent directly? I don't know. It's just a history of not talking, but talking once here or there and just hoping that the correct person finds out um, on that one issue without causing whatever else and whatever. Um, so I go from that. And then it's almost like, because like at this point, the way that I chop this up, it's almost like working with the, like reading between the lines and the innuendos of what are the topics going on, how is it relevant, um, and then the Supreme Court, I'm listening to how they reported it today, and on the rest of the it's almost like it feels almost like the newsrooms or the world press, almost, not saying that it does, uses like a form of badminton, um, or ping pong, um, that runs through some filter. So I'm just watching this at the moment, and since I'm stuck here and I don't know how to get out, um, and I do have a merit certificate. Um, and there's some things that I'm seeing in New York where I'm just like, that was not what it looked like back in the 80s. Like, there's some real serious changes. I don't know how, and I don't know by whom, but it's concerning when I go to pick my father up from flying on a condor from Europe. I mean, it's like, it sounds like a storyline, like in a fairy tale, like the beginning of a children's book. But you want to know how great your grandfather was? He was such an important man. He flew on a condor from Europe to America. I mean, like, again, I could, if I wrote children's books, it might be an entertaining beginning of it, and then of course it has real merit because it actually happened today. But anyway, going back to, here's what the Supreme Court mentions today, which on the other outlets, at 12, at 4, at 5, at 6, I listened to how they said it on ABC Channel 7 News. And it didn't really become striking until it hit the David Muir world news. And then all of a sudden, they changed it up a little bit and they added something about Zionist. And I'm like, whoa. So, like, I mean, like, because there's what I got going on here, but I don't know what they mean when they say it up there. And I don't know if that's taken out of context. And then they've got this like whole big thing with gay rights going on, which I thought I knew what gay meant. But then again, the shorthand, and if they acronym or synonym it differently, then it could be something different. And then yesterday they put up a face with the name gay, and I'm like a person's name that, and she's a prominent person at Harvard who has something to do with law and nothing to do with my conversation. And I'm like, that's interesting, because I'm listening to the way that the Supreme Court, I mean, like they're almost making it where whenever you have something to say, I mean, but I personalize the message, but they're making it like almost every time that you say something, it should like be up, like debatable. It's like, no, I wanted a RH negative blood group with a good looking man is what I really wanted in my teen years and in my youth to grow old and build a life with. And something happened. And then it seems like trickery and mockery in a way. And there's a whole lot of other world stuff going on. And I'm not really having this conversation with anybody where they could try to tear me down just to make newsroom. So this one's June 30th, and it was E183.
National correspondent Terry Moran in Washington tonight.
At the Supreme Court, a First Amendment ruling with far-reaching consequences. The court's conservative supermajority declaring that Denver area website designer Lori Smith has a constitutional right to refuse to design wedding websites for gay couples. The court holding that Colorado's public accommodations law, which requires businesses that serve the general public to serve all equally, does not apply in cases where the product or service being offered expresses a message.
Right. So, and my message is more personal with something that's gone on. I don't know how that gets handled. I don't know where that gets handled. But I'm also monitoring what's going on weather-wise, climate-wise, health-wise, and what I'm currently experiencing. And I use the degrees of certainty or the matriculated completed credit curriculum that I've taken at the higher learning institutions in the local area, as that's what the words were, the vocabulary were, that's what they taught in order to have a solid basis of construct for whatever it is that I need to speak on.
And forcing Smith to serve gay couples, the court reasoned, would be compelling her to speak a message she does not believe in, violating her First Amendment rights. Justice Neil Gorsuch, writing for the court's conservatives, declaring, "The First Amendment envisions the United States as a rich and complex place where all persons are free to think and speak as they wish, not as the government demands."
Now, on that point, greatly appreciate, because again, but he has got a couple of sections of this that he supposedly comments on, or at least the ABC World News Tonight is referring to.
Upholding the Colorado law in this case, Gorsuch added, would mean that the government could force an unwilling Muslim movie director to make a film with a Zionist message, or compel an atheist muralist to accept a commission celebrating evangelical zeal. In dissent with her outnumbered liberal colleagues, Justice Sonia Sotomayor called the ruling profoundly wrong, arguing that it endows certain businesses open to the public with a constitutional right to refuse to serve members of a protected class. And
I'm gonna complete what she says, but out of respect. But the tailored message, it's more like the interpretation of it, I suppose, for whatever I need right at this moment to try to get through these headlines. Because there's this thing where now they're doing this pride, they're doing this gay message, and I'm like, no, I thought it was just the way that the humans portray gay out in the public with their visual, but now I'm realizing, is there a possibility that somebody is trying to swipe the headline power and engine by running things through Harvard and this woman who's an elect for gay? And again, I don't know who chose that. I don't know what the ramifications of that are, but it just came across the television, and it's one of those things where I'm like, I don't know what it means, honestly, and how it affects where I'm in New York. I'm just going to replay this because they specifically, in this one tailored message that's different than the other ones, but the one for the ABC, they specifically tailor this one message with this word gay, which I thought that the public had defined it as one way, but then there's this like other outing that one of the other news outlets had done at 4 o'clock on same channel 7, where they actually reference that Harvard has a woman that is named Gay. That's her last name, Gay, in spell check. And then that changes the conversation and the construct of the potential argument or the innuendo or the conjecture or whichever, which now I'm sitting here going, now on these headlines, what is it that, now are they talking about running it through? Because then, I mean, that does skew an argument if you're trying to argue it through a lens of something for a specific purpose. And then, I mean, it's no long, it's clear as mud. It's not clear as glass. So, like,
conservative supermajority declaring that Denver area website designer Lori Smith has a constitutional right to refuse to design wedding websites for gay couples. The court.
okay, and then the way that they had defined gay on the same channel earlier, I'm going to reference that because I mean, it's confusing enough to try to chase the headlines and what the heck the humans are up to in like a background or like a foreground, like before, because we're sitting here and I see a whole lot of gay pride I see a whole lot of New York coming out doing some stuff. I have no idea what it really means. I don't know what the engine, the driver is. I've been left out of the conversation, but yet, and I'm not elected official, I have merit. And there's been some other stuff that's gone on, and I'm left without employment, without an inlet to like these. I don't even know how humans, how they find groups and each other. I've never been able to figure out how to find humans that I want to spend time with. It's just, there were like second grade worked extremely well, but I don't know why that didn't continue into third, fourth, and whatever. Everything just kept changing. The arrangements just kept changing every class. It was just like, it was always something new, and it was never any like long lasting relationships. So yesterday, which was Thursday at 4 p.m., they introduced this woman and said that that was her last name. And it says Harvard President-elect. And this was under that affirmative action ruling, which was a different Supreme Court announcement than the one today. So this gets confusing with trying to follow the headlines, because it's like now when they're doing these trends and campaigns in the local area, since I don't have like, I don't know, I mean, like, where's the coordinator? Where's the like population like integration or whatever? I mean, so just on like a national security note, I can stay safe. But there's not even that level of, I mean, like in some places at the Marquis, it's like the Han or the concierge or the something that I mean, like, again, if I speak Boy Scouts, the Scoutmaster. Like, where's the one in charge of the group? I don't know who that person is in this area. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, Solar System, Milky Way, Universe, Galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, 11361. I'm fortunate that when I go on Sunday with my son, there at least is a more familial grouping, like when I would go to Sunday school, when I was staying at the Glen. And it had a number to it. I mean, it was the number 3. I'm not skirting that issue. Again, I know symbolically the 3 is like, I don't want it to be controversial, but I don't know if, like, again, I don't know. So, but it's just where the mailing address was, so I would never forget it. And then I even heard today just how the news spins things on the CBS. They have something called Imagine Dragon or something else. One of them is named Glenn, but with 2 N's. But he's prideful, and he's part of this pride in a different way. And it's almost like they commandeered the free speech and they painted it their way, which again, the humans do. But that's part of that spin and that propaganda campaign. And then, like, when you have real serious issues that you want to address, or you want to be part of where you belong, but you don't know where you belong because your portion of getting to the route where you belonged was either blocked or misrouted or whatever, and you were silenced completely. Like, where do you report that to and like get to where you need to be, no matter what age it is? Because it just keeps getting worse, and it's a real problem. So anyhow, so I'm gonna actually reference where they changed. Like, here's where they changed the context to, this is this woman gay, and she works at Harvard, and she's the president elect, and she represents a law school. Um, and then there's they're doing this loud something or other, which I'll reference, but that's from Channel 2, which is CBS News. So the news thread, I see that and they also use a Reynolds again. Like, I mean, I know the familiar names of what I was surrounded by. So, again, I'm just going to, I'm going to pause this and I'm going to reference that because it just shows how the newsrooms can spin it, which again gets confusing if you're trying to find or follow a headline, just to keep yourself safe and like keep up to date with what's going on in the world and anything we should know about. I mean, they just updated the air quality. I watched that climate change movie again, The Day After Tomorrow from 2004. And I noticed on there, there was a period of time here just recently where people were wearing that patch, but I had not seen the movie. So and I saw it everywhere. Like, everyone was walking around with these black jackets. I have no idea where they got them from. But it had that patch on it. And no matter where I went, like, it was almost like everybody had one. I have no idea the brand. I have no idea where that campaign started from, but it was very noticeable. And last winter, I did not see any of them anywhere in New York. So now New York's running this Pride and the See Us, which again, there's wildfires in Canada, and the breathing air, besides the photon level. I mean, I walk outside, my eyes hurt. I have contacts on, and my eyes, I walk around. I've never had this happen before, but my eyes actually feel like they have sawdust in between my eyelid and the lens of the contact, just from walking outside. That's the size and the amount of the particulate. And it's not like, in my life, maybe like once in a while, if it ever happened, was a lot. It's now becoming a consistent, it's hard to walk outside and not feel like this scratching on the eye, at which, I mean, that's how big the particulate is in the environment, that it's actually leaving this kind of effect on the eye.
To a close, we're taking a look at the efforts to embrace LGBTQ youth through music. The Love Loud Music Festival is an LGBTQ concert raising money for organizations nationwide that support queer youth. It was created by Imagine Dragons frontman Dan Reynolds and Neon Trees lead singer Tyler Glenn. Both were raised in Mormon families, and church doctrine against gay marriage can lead to an increased risk for depression and suicide in LGBTQ youth. Jamie Yukas spoke to the Rockers as they were planning this year's event and learned how Love Loud is getting bigger and, yes, louder than ever.
Which, again, and it's not just they, but it's New Yorkers will just say, whoever's running the media room, they do this. That's their free voice or free mouth, like that's their expression. But there's real stuff that goes on in New York, and the construct of like where's like a once a month, I mean once a week really, but where's once a month meeting where the residents of borough Queens, I mean Louis just came back from Italy, and um he reminds me that the region that we come from is Cadore, like adore, like there's meaning in the words of the Dolomite, and he's Aronsani. So there's that A somewhere else. I mean, it starts with an A. It's Aronsani, Alpini, um, for importance. Um, I don't know how I know that. I just know it, kind of a way. And so he tells me that while he's there, they actually planned the World Cup for rowing. So the rowing team, the USA team was there. They got to meet Lewis at a restaurant. He was out that night with his childhood friend. So there's actually like the World Cup, like the rowing team, whoever got to the finals. So he was telling my son and I about that, about meeting this rowing team from the USA, and Austria was there, and Australia was there, and a couple of others. And my son was just like, I mean, just so into that story as we were driving home today. And just nothing but compliments about everybody that he met with and the family over there still. But being rooted in here with like no escape, no outlet, no anything. The construct of New York at the moment is, it's like there's this ever changing environment, and not only does it feel like one's out of out of the chain of command, or out of the control, or out of the communication with the control, to even know like I mean, the schooling here graduated me with a merit and a certificate and a diploma. Why am I unable to find some kind of payroll? It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. I feel like I'm stuck in this crevasse between what I was supposed to be and then whatever happened that broke it, that left me wherever I am. And it's not fair for me. It isn't. And I don't see a way out, or see a way up, or see a way through. I just don't know. And then I look to the TV and I see how they're taking this pride thing way too far in some opposite way. What, to give some Harvard person who already got to a place. I mean, like, I can't do a personal analysis on her because I don't have that level of like how many vacations and things. If there's a comparative analysis, I'm not at, or I was never routed to that level of success. So why in the newsroom and media is it stealing the campaign and the voice away? Like, what purpose does that serve? Is that part of the deflection? So this way it doesn't wind up in like a media circus. I just don't know. It's star 1978, star 8378, Nicole, Cattaruzza. It's Earth, solar system, Milky Way, universe, galaxy is broken. And it's Bayside Station, Bayside, New York, moment 361.